Welcome back to Between Sundays. My name's Lisa Perry. I'm your host this week, sitting with Andrew Foster, lead pastor of Life Church. Hello, Andrew.
Hi,
Good morning.
Lisa.
Glad to be here again.
Yeah, always
Mhm.
glad to be here. So
A fun
I
time.
like having conversations.
Typically, our Between Sundays episodes are taking the message we received on Sunday,
Uh-huh.
unpacking, digging deeper, getting into some of the themes behind it maybe didn't get hit on. This Sunday was special in that we had our Vision Sunday, which was a lot. It was like a family meeting
Yeah.
for me. The way that I think about it is that it's taking stock of where we've come from, where we're going. I think it's really helpful as a member of the body. I appreciate that, like, I'm being reminded of things that I know and I'm familiar with, but are being clarified and refined as we go through time. And then also we know that we have a lot of new people
Yes.
in our body. And so I'm sure that it's helpful to them as they're still sort of forming their understanding of, like, what does it mean to be here? What's it mean to be a part of us?
Yeah.
And so we will be unpacking those things today. Yeah. It should be good. So you spent a good amount of time just on the idea of vision and the importance of it in guiding a body, a family, a community. You opened with Proverbs 24:3, and you unpacked the Hebrew words. I'm not going to try to
Yeah, that's
pronounce
fine.
them, but for house, the word
I didn't either, if you
built.
noticed, because I was just like, I'm not going to butcher these.
Yeah, so the Hebrew words for house, built, and wisdom. So can you just help us understand why it felt important to you to frame this conversation about vision around the ideas of building something lasting with God's wisdom?
Yeah, so I'm going to read the verse first, just
Yeah,
for
go
everyone
for it,
listening for
please.
context. So Proverbs 24:3 is a house built by wisdom becomes strong through good sense, right? And so, like we said, the word house doesn't just mean a physical structure, right? When you look at the word, it also holds the meaning of a family, of a dynasty almost, right? Of a group of people, which is kind of one of the beautiful things about it, because it does relate to us as a church, right? That a house or a group of people or a family or people who gather together, when they are built by wisdom, right, it becomes strong, right? And something that is long lasting, right? Built implies construction with purpose and skill too, right? And so when you are building something, when you're allowing the Lord to lead you in what you're building, you're supposed to build with purpose and you're supposed to build with skill. You're not supposed to slap things together haphazardly.
Yeah.
Because when you do, it doesn't last, right? And that's obvious. I think we all know that. But if I built something and literally just nailed things wherever I wanted, that structure is only going to last so long.
Yeah.
Right. And part of when we build with the Lord, we build purposely, we build with skill. And the goal is that we are not just building something for a moment, but we are building something that will last.
Yeah.
I keep thinking about the fact that we serve an eternal God.
Okay.
Right. And since we are finite beings, a lot of times our vision, our understanding, how far ahead I see is finite as well.
Yeah.
I see in days, months, years, hours, maybe minutes, depending on what's going on in my life currently. And when we are partnering with an infinite God, his view is not narrowed to a finite scope, right?
Yeah.
He's seeing all, he sees everything, right?
Yeah.
And so when I build with him, right, when I'm building also then with wisdom, because wisdom is divine insight that comes from God, not human cleverness, right? So when we are building the church, we want to build not only with skill and purpose, right, which means that we're not just doing things haphazardly, but we're doing them for a reason because the Lord is leading us in them. And then on the next side up, we are building from the viewpoint of what the Lord is giving us. So we're building with wisdom, which means I'm not building from a finite point of view.
Right.
I am building with an infinite point of view, as in I'm not, we keep running into conversations here at Life Church, and even with me and my wife in our personal lives, where is the decision we're making simply something that we're choosing because of what's happening now? And are we not asking ourselves the question, how is this going to ripple out? You know, you're in staff meetings enough where a lot of times when we're deciding some things, we keep bringing up the point of we're not making this decision because of now. We're also making this decision because 20, 30 years from now, we want those who are coming after us to be set up well.
Yeah. What are the residual effects or the implications of the decisions we're making now for the future?
Yeah. And so as we talk about the vision of Life Church, as we talk about our vision as a people, as we build what God has asked us to build, right? We're building with those kind of three things in mind. We're building with the understanding that what we are building is not about just us, it's about the family.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I won't use the word dynasty because that's kind of a weird word in that sense. And I think family does a better fit.
Building
But
kingdoms.
yeah, we're building
our own kingdom.
the family of God, right? We're
Yeah.
building the church that he is asking us to build. We're doing it with skill, we're doing it with purpose, and we're doing it with the divine wisdom and insight that can only come from him,
Right.
which means then it ties into our vision statement, right? That we're partnering with God
Mm-hmm.
to see his kingdom released, right?
Right.
That we believe that it's our job to partner with him,
Mm-hmm.
right? That he's available and waiting, but oftentimes humanity doesn't take that step,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
partnering is not peer, right?
Mhm.
It's surrendering for us,
Yeah.
right? So just that fine little clarity there. But as we partner with him,
God is the majority partner
Always.
in this.
yeah, we are the minority by far.
Yeah. As you were unpacking that, I thought of two things. Like, yes, building with intention and purpose and partnering with God is what helps make things last, like gives them longevity. I also was reminded of Noah and how specific his instructions were, not because the ark needed to last forever, but because the ark needed to serve a specific purpose at a specific time. And I was just thinking about how, like, the Lord being that involved in the details to tell him how long the wood needed to be and how, all of those things, and realizing like, oh, in the big C church, in the body of Christ, I think it's lovely how we acknowledge the whole body as part of our normal practice of blessing other bodies within the body of Christ. But that Life Church, we carry a specific mission in equipping and building wholeness, and that in that sense, what we are building serves a specific purpose, and not just about 20 years from now, but also about like, where is our specific mission and calling and the things the Lord's asking us to do? Where is it intersecting with what's happening now in our culture, in our city? So I think that's interesting.
Yeah.
And then I like that idea of like God's perspective being eternal. I was thinking about how like when we see in the natural, there's always a horizon line.
Always.
Like there is a point where we cannot see over the curve of the earth, and there's a limitation, even if it's unending ocean. There's still a limit, but that we're pulling that eternal perspective from God into, like, that we get the benefit of that informing what we're doing in the natural. There's, I don't know, there's an image that
I think it, because just bringing on your point of Noah, right?
Yeah.
Noah built for years.
Yeah.
Like years.
For something that lasted, was it
40 days
Yeah.
and 40 nights,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so
Yeah.
the he built for years, right? With the purpose, right? And the purpose was the salvation of him and his family, of the animals, of humanity, right?
Humanity. Yeah.
An extent of what it was. And so I think that's the other thing too, is sometimes the thing you're building for, right? The purpose or the fulfillment of it might not be as long as the time spent building, right?
Yeah.
But that's not a negative thing.
Right.
And I think we can even tie it into all of the wonderful agrarian culture examples that Jesus uses for us, right? About planting and sowing and reaping. Is planting something, sowing into it, watering it, weeding it, taking care of it is a long process. When you consume and eat the fruit, that's often very quick.
Harvest season does not last long.
It's not as long, right? And that's not a negative thing in it, right? And so I just think as we're building, and part of that whole purpose, right, with skill and purpose, why we build, that's what vision is, right? It's that us seeing, okay, God, we're gonna do this as you're asking us to do it. We're going to fight for what we're supposed to fight for and believe what we're supposed to believe for.
Yeah, just so good. A little further into the message, you talked about God's timing being perfect. And as a church, we're in a season of building, but let's not rush ahead or look back longingly. And so part of my question is, how do we know if we're doing that well? Like being in that balance. And then later, part two of the question is I want to differentiate a little bit. We talk about, we don't want to rush ahead, but when we do receive the vision, we want to run.
Yeah.
And so how do we differentiate the difference between those things? So any of that you want to speak to?
Yeah. I'll just highlight it again that I believe God's timing is perfect, right? I believe that I believe that the limiting factor is never God. It's usually human. It's us, right? It's our human nature. It's our lack of willingness to listen or to surrender or to trust or whatever, the God sending Jonah to Nineveh, God's timing was perfect, as in when Jonah got there, God used it and he moved and Nineveh repented, right? It took Jonah a while to get there, right? And there was a lot of ups and downs and surrender that was needed in Jonah's life, and even pouting afterwards. So as a church, right, when you're in a season where you're pursuing something and you're building something, right? A lot of people get so focused on the now and why things are not happening. And so sometimes people ask questions like, well, you say that, like you say we're sending church. Why haven't we sent more people, right? And their focus is on more the fulfillment of the vision than on the process that's needed to get you to the fulfillment of the vision, right? And so part of understanding timing and seasons when you're building is not looking for completion when you're in process or not expecting fruit when you're planting. I think a lot of us get disillusioned when we think I should have harvest already. And it's you've only been planting for a couple weeks or months or in the broader context, right? I can't remember if I've talked about this or not, but like apple trees, right? They take about 5 years before they start producing fruit. And even then the fruit's not good yet, right? It takes a while before it's the fruit you want to eat, right? And so we don't get mad at the apple tree for not producing fruit yet because we understand that part of it maturing and growing is to give us fruit that tastes good and that it needs to get to the point where it's ready to produce, right? And so it's still existing as an apple tree without the fruit yet. Right?
Its identity is the same, even though the fruit is not
it's
here
not there yet.
or not ideal
and
yet.
The fruit is on its way, right? But it has to grow, it has to build, it has to prepare. Roots have to go down deep. It has to, drink in from the sunlight. It has to get to the point where it's ready for it. And so, in the same way with people in our personal lives and in churches, when we have a vision, when we have a word from God, something we're believing for, a lot of people get disillusioned with why am I not seeing the fruit of this yet when we're saying this is what the vision is. And I think my challenge so often to us, to myself, to people is that are we disillusioned because we're expecting the harvest before God says we're ready for the harvest and before things are ready? I think of the last few years for us. If I had it my way, Andrew's way, if I had it Andrew's way, the Wholeness Center would have been complete by now. We would have started building it 2 years ago. And we would be in a different spot because the Lord said to build it. We moved to build it. Other things popped up, right?
I think for a lot of people, that's what running with a vision looks like, is like we have the thing, we implement the thing. And
then
it's not always the case.
That's not always the case too. And realistically, the implementation and even the completion of the vehicle, right? Because really, we all know this, right? Church is not the building. Church is the people. The church is the vehicle that allows us to get to the vision that the Lord has given us, right? So the Wholeness Center is a vehicle for us to be able to help pour into people, heal people, train them up, and send them to wherever God has called them to go. So the idea, this whole idea, if I had it my way, was that we would be done with the Wholeness Center, and then all these other issues have popped up in our property that we have to deal with now, right? In the natural and in the physical. So that meant that a year and a half ago, God put what it felt like at the time was that the vision was put on pause, right? Was the initial thought of just wrestling with why is this happening and dealing with all the other stuff that comes with a vision that feels like it's on pause. But we did not stop moving as a church, right? We still kept moving forward. Instead, we focused on the things that we could do in the moment. And so the running with the vision at that time going forward wasn't pausing everything the church was doing. Instead, it was saying, since we're not able to do this thing that God has called us to do, what else can we focus on and pour our time and energy into that God has asked us to do? And I think at this point in my walk as the pastor of the church, I would offer the thought that I think what God wants us to do is to focus a little more on some of the internal things we needed in place before we got to the point where we're a little more externally focused. As in, the body needed to be healthy enough that we could send things out and not feel the loss. And so the things that I've seen happen in the last year and a half that have popped up out of Life Church, ministries that have been created, connections that have been formed, some of the more relational things that are happening within the body, and ways to pour into different groups internally that we have. I think those are only going to help us in doing the things God has called us to do.
More effectively.
More effectively.
More impactfully. Yeah, I think that's good. I love that there's a part of it that was like, we caught the vision. We had an idea of what it would look like, the fulfillment of that vision.
Always.
And then when it didn't go that way, when we couldn't do it the way we thought we were going to be able to do it, what other ways can we still, the question then became, in what other ways can we still fulfill what God's asking us to do? Can we do the things the Lord is calling us to?
Let's be honest, right? Stagnation in the Bible is never a good thing, right? It always has to do with death, right? And there's a difference between being stagnant and waiting upon the Lord. Okay. So what does the Bible tell us about waiting on the Lord? When you wait upon the Lord, you will renew your strength. When the Bible talks about stagnation, it's the bogs, it's marshes,
Mm-hmm.
it's where death exists because things are not moving. Water is sitting.
Yeah.
So even in seasons of waiting, you're still moving in your relationship with the Lord, and you're still
Mhm.
connecting with him and with his purpose.
Yeah.
Right? The difference between waiting and being stagnant is if I'm stagnant, it means I'm doing nothing.
Right.
I am not growing. I am not
Yeah.
learning. I am not changing.
Mhm.
Things that do not grow are dead things.
Right.
Right? They are
Right.
unchanging things.
Yeah.
And so there's the balance between even Psalms 32:8, right? That says, I will instruct you and teach you in the way you should go.
Mhm.
I will counsel you with my eye upon you.
Mhm.
So even in those moments where we can't go personally
Mhm.
the way we thought we should go, we can't go
Yeah.
where we wanted to go. In those moments where we go, okay, God, this is the vision I thought you had given me for my life, for my
Mhm.
family, for the church,
My
for
career.
whatever it is,
Mhm.
my career.
Yeah.
Those then, you don't get stagnant in the sense of doing nothing. I think
Mhm.
those are the moments you get quiet.
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
wait upon the Lord,
Yeah.
right? You get into his word. You talk to mature believers.
Yeah.
You spend time in worship and prayer and
Mhm.
contemplation on who he is, on what he has said, making sure your heart is aligned with your belief in his character, what the
Yeah.
word tells you that who God is, right? And then you understand that even in a season of waiting, even when you're waiting for the fruit to
Mhm.
come, it doesn't mean things are not happening,
Yeah.
right? And that's a
Yeah.
hard, we are so visual and we
Uh-huh.
are so experiential that if
Mhm.
I'm not seeing and experiencing what I think I should be seeing and experiencing, then something is failing, something is not happening, something
Mhm.
is wrong.
Yeah.
With me, with God,
Mhm.
the world,
Right.
right,
Sure.
whatever it is,
Yeah.
right? I
That's good.
also, I'll hit one more thing because I
Mhm.
think you're going to ask this, or maybe I'm going to tie this into it now. 'Cause
Yeah.
I think there's also, when you're called to run with obedience, right? With
Yes.
the season that you're in,
Yes.
right? That's what we're also
Mhm.
talking about, right?
Right.
Is I think a lot of times, because we read that in Habakkuk, right?
Mhm.
It's Habakkuk 2:2, right? Write down the vision so that he can run with it,
Right.
right? And so the idea is that when God gives you a vision, you run with it
Mhm.
for it. And I think running with the vision doesn't mean sprinting past God's timing,
Okay.
right? Like we talked about in Ecclesiastes, right? Where there's
Mhm.
times and seasons and the importance of
Yeah.
knowing times and seasons.
Yeah.
I think, like I read in Psalms 32:8, I will instruct you and teach you in the
Mhm.
way you should go,
Mhm.
right? So God gives us the promise that he will instruct, he
Mhm.
will teach us in the way we should go. I will counsel you with my eye upon you, right?
Yeah.
He'll give us the direction for it. And so when God is calling me, right, when he is leading me somewhere, when I have a vision or a purpose or an idea, right, the understanding is that sprinting, if I sprint, the goal is not to run past God's timing. It
Mhm.
means moving at the pace he sets right now.
Okay.
All right. And
Yeah.
so I think of Abraham, right? I'm going to give you the example of Abraham in Genesis 12:1-4, right?
Mhm.
God gives Abraham the vision, right?
Mhm.
Go to this country,
Yeah.
right? Abraham is 75 years old
Right.
and he obeys immediately, packs
Mhm.
up everything he owns, all of
Yeah.
his stuff, takes his family with him, and he goes. He also receives a promise about a son,
Mhm.
right? He has to wait 25 years
Right.
for the promise of the son.
Yeah.
So he's in this place where God is telling him to go somewhere. Abraham is being obedient. God is saying, I'm going to give you the son. But the son is 25 years along the journey and along the process. But Abraham keeps walking with God every single day. He builds altars. He prays. Every
Yeah.
time God says, pick up and move,
Mhm.
Abraham picks up and moves. He heads towards the vision where God is calling him,
Mhm.
right, to go, right?
Mhm.
So he ran with the vision while still honoring the season of waiting
Mhm.
for the promise of the fulfillment of his son.
Yeah.
He slipped up
Sure.
once,
Yes.
right? I think
Yes.
first we'll acknowledge that, right?
Yeah.
He got to the point,
It's in the
and
book. We'll
Sarah
acknowledge it.
was frustrated too.
Uh-huh.
So we had Hagar
They
and we
sought
had
their own
Ishmael.
means to
They
fulfill the
sought,
promise.
their own means
Mhm.
to get what it was, right?
Yeah.
David obviously is another one I talked about a lot. David's another great example, right? Anointed king as a
Yeah.
teenager in 1 Samuel 18,
Mhm.
spent 16 to 20 years in the
Mhm.
wilderness before becoming king
Yeah.
officially, right?
Yeah.
Like we've been talking about too in 2 Samuel 5, when the Philistines are coming down, he's finally
Mhm.
king, right?
Mhm.
So he runs with the vision every day. He shepherds, he fights Goliath, he
Mhm.
leads people, he serves Saul faithfully,
Right.
right? He does all those
Yeah.
things, right? But he also refuses
Mhm.
to seize the throne early,
Right.
right? And so that for me is such a big distinction. Is David had the promise from God. This is yours. Running ahead of the vision would have
Right.
been David seizing the throne
Yeah.
before the Lord gave it to him.
It would have also been abandoning, because some of those things he's doing that are like part of what the Lord's called him to, the
Yeah.
shepherding,
Yeah.
like those are parts of his identity.
Uh-huh.
Like he's
Yeah.
meant to walk as a leader, as
Yeah.
and so he's doing it from whatever position he's in, pre-kingdom.
Yep.
And um seizing it
Mm-hmm.
would be abandoning the
Mhm.
identity he's
Yep.
called to. It would be abandoning the honor he's been walking in
Yeah.
up to that point. So I think that's interesting that there is a coming out of alignment that has to
Mhm.
happen when
Yeah.
you're forcing it
Yeah.
like that. And it sounds like sort of in both of those examples, some of that work feels like discerning when we're receiving the direction or the vision from the Lord, discerning what is the now word
Mm-hmm.
and what is the like visionary word, like,
Yeah.
because some prophetic words are not necessarily for right now,
Yeah.
or direction we receive is not exactly like move on this in this moment.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like it sounds like that's some of the
Yeah.
discernment process.
David's always my favorite.
Yeah.
Okay, like just
Mhm.
like I love him. I love his life.
Sure.
I love the fact that he was in a cave with Saul and had a chance to strike Saul down, to end the man who was hunting him and chasing him, to seize the promise
to
that
get some
God had
level of
given
peace
him. Yeah,
where he doesn't have to run
rest,
anymore.
You know, like to see everything. If he had killed Saul in that moment, everything in his life could have shifted. Right? He could have just been in a
Seemingly for
totally
the
different
better.
place. Yeah, and
He did not.
most of us, I think, would have struck Saul down. I think if
Yeah.
most of us, we would have been like, oh, and if you remember the story, what
Mhm.
David's men tell him, look, God has
Lord
given
gave you."
Saul into your hands.
Yes.
Like he even had the counsel of those
Mhm.
around him saying, this is your moment. But David lived with the belief that he would not raise his hand
Yeah.
against the Lord's
Right.
anointed, right? Which
Yeah.
part of that is, I will not seize something until
Mhm.
God gives it to me.
Yeah.
Right? And I think even in our promises, even when we're running after what God has told us,
Mhm.
there's a difference between you seizing something that God hasn't given you yet out of your own works
Yeah.
or walking into fulfillment when
Mhm.
God opens the door.
Yeah.
If you feel like you're doing more work than God is moving and speaking, then
Mhm.
maybe you are out of discernment. You need to
Mhm.
step back a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe if it's becoming a works-based thing, I'm
Mhm.
probably not in alignment right now with what
Yeah.
God is saying. You know, maybe I
Mhm.
need to take stock of my heart, take stock of where I'm at.
Yeah.
Pause,
Mhm.
wait upon the Lord, like talk to him a bit and not. We can hit such a balance, right? I think we can hit the point where I'm just waiting on God becomes an excuse to justify laziness.
Yeah.
Okay. And so that's the hard thing, right? Is that,
Complacency.
yeah, we can be in that place where we're like, and then we can also be like, I'm running with the vision. And that's an excuse that leads us to striving and burnout.
Yeah.
Okay. And so
yeah.
there's the tension between the two
Mhm.
that I'm not striving to see fulfillment,
Mhm.
right? I'm not burning myself out to see fulfillment, right?
Yeah.
I am allowing the Lord to mold me and shape me
Mhm.
in this season.
Yeah.
And sometimes, once again, I just always, David, him in a cave, the amount of us would have been like, I'm hiding in a cave from a
Mhm.
man who wants to kill me with a group of criminals. I am striving. I am
Yeah.
close to burnout.
Yeah.
I am
This is harder
exhausted.
than it should
This
be.
is way harder than it. Like, this is not enjoyable. This is
Yeah.
not fun. This
does
is
not
not
feel like
good.
promise.
Oh, look, here he comes walking into the
Mhm.
cave. Oh, everyone's telling me, take him. This is your, like, David just did it so well so many times. And obviously he made so many other mistakes.
Not every time, but so many times.
But this is one of those moments where
Mhm.
you're like, wow, he did it so well.
Yeah.
Right? He held the balance between those two things. And I think for us as a church, first off, the challenge is God has called us to be a sending center, right?
Mhm.
And so when God gives you a vision, oftentimes you work backwards to get to that vision. So when God told me you're going to be a sending center, right?
Mhm.
Awesome, let's do it. We want to send
Mhm.
people. Then he asked me the question, how are you going to heal those that you have
Right.
sent out, or how are you going to prepare those even to be sent out?
Mhm.
Oh, what a great question. We can't just send people.
Yeah.
They have to be equipped and prepared, like it talks
Mhm.
about in Ephesians, right?
Yeah.
You're equipping them for the good works that God has prepared for them, right? And
Right.
so part of what the fivefold does, the
Mhm.
church does, is it
Mhm.
equips the saints, right?
Yeah.
And so, all right, we need to equip. So then the question is, okay, how do we equip?
Mhm.
What things do we have in place to equip,
Mhm.
right? And so then those pieces fall in place, right? So
Yeah.
God gives me, let's say, a vision of when I was a young man about doing missions and going to the nations. That's what I wanted to do, right? And so the thing is, it's not automatically, as a young person, my thought at the time was just jump on a plane and go.
Fulfillment looks like being the missionary, going to the places.
Going straight.
Yes.
God gave me the vision, me running with it
Totally.
is me throwing everything aside, selling the no possessions I have, and living as a poor person and going to where God is
Right.
leading me, right?
Yeah.
I think as you get a little more mature and you understand that now,
Mhm.
right, if God was to call me in this moment, which
Mhm.
he's not, he's called me here at Life Church, but if he was to call me in the moment, go, this is the vision. Me running with that vision would me making sure I'm prepared to be a faithful steward of it and be obedient when I'm in it.
Yes.
Right. So that might mean me learning the language, selling my house, getting my affairs in order, preparing my children, looking at school,
Right.
this whole list of things. Right. Because when God gives it to you, if I'm supposed to be there, right, then I do have the responsibility in this moment to allow him to prepare me, to mold me, to, do whatever. And so that's what we do as a church. If we're going to send people, and it's okay if it starts small. I mean, I think Ezekiel 47, I really didn't get to touch on it much, but a year ago, God really started, or years ago, but in the last year, God's really been impressing me on it. We're going to talk about it at church here in the next month or so, about Ezekiel 47, which is the river flowing out from the temple of God, right? And it's a vision that Ezekiel's having. The Lord takes him to it. And it's like a little trickle coming out of the base of the temple, right underneath the door frame. It's just like a little trickle of it. And then as he follows it out, it gets deeper and deeper and deeper the farther he goes, right? And water in this is representing like the presence of God, right? And so it's things sometimes start with a little trickle, right? It starts with just a little bit of water going, but as you're faithful, as you move, as you keep going, right? It grows, it expands. And that's how I think we responsibly steward vision, right? And so, that was a lot. I don't know if you want to ask me anything about that.
I was thinking about sort of earlier in this conversation talking about the difference between running and waiting and staying in that pocket of being responsive to God without running ahead of him. And you talked about the tendency towards, or sometimes the excuse being given that leaves us in stagnation. And I thought about how much of that is like when things are stagnant, they're not growing, they're not moving, but it feels, I was thinking about stewardship and how like we talk about stewardship being, I think in the last year for me, it was realizing that stewardship is not just maintaining, stewardship is unto growth and unto forward motion in some way. So that was an interesting connection for me.
Yeah.
But I think that's helpful talking about some of that difference between what does it look like to not rush ahead? What does it look like to run with the vision, discerning the now word or the next step?
Well, and small beginnings are good.
Yeah.
And I think we celebrate even small steps.
Yeah.
I'm more and more, I think I'm falling into this thing in my mind that we just need to be better about celebration, because I think Christians are just awful about it. Not everyone, but a lot of times where humans are harsh on themselves. We should do more. We should accomplish more. We should be more. I should be a better parent, a better employee, a better follower, all the things, right? We get focused on the more. And I think you celebrate the small progress, like Zechariah 4:10, right? That says, do not despise these small beginnings, right? For the Lord rejoices to see the work begin. A lot of times we say, do not despise small beginnings, and we forget the rest of the verse, that the Lord rejoices to see the work begin, right?
He is celebrating.
Yeah, he is celebrating. If he is celebrating, I think it's okay for me to celebrate as well.
Yeah,
like, I think I should do what Jesus did, and I do what I see the Father doing. If he is celebrating over me, why would I think I need to wallow?
Yeah.
Like there's just... So even in the small sense of it, that you don't despise the season that's only a trickle of water coming out from the door.
Yeah.
Because it's something that's starting, and you're faithful to steward.
Yeah. You spent some time on Sunday morning in the message talking about the things that we have built. We've either reinforced, shored up, expanded on in the last 2 years, especially. And so I would love for us to hit up some of those things again. So people in the body, or maybe they're in the community and not necessarily part of our body, but are looking for resources for equipping and growth. I just want to sort of talk through some of the things that we are doing now that are available now before the Wholeness Center is done, before people are going into, we have so many phenomenal leaders here. So I want to start by saying that. We have a lot of amazing leaders. And so the things that we do as a church, we do not do just because we have a great staff. We do it because we have phenomenal volunteers and leaders who believe in pouring into people and seeing them grow and seeing them step into their calling, right? Yeah, I believe not everyone is called to be an employee of a church, but everyone is called to be a minister of the gospel in the sense of you take Jesus wherever you go, and you take his goodness and his love, the story of his grace, of how he saved you, right? And so we have amazing people here who believe in pouring into people. And no matter their season, no matter where they're at in life. And so the encouragement always is to
be involved to the level you're able to be involved, to be in community and connection, and to allow yourself to be poured into.
Yeah. That's a good word, actually. Can we just
Yeah.
allow yourself to be poured into?
Yeah.
Like, as a member of the body, as a child of the King,
Uh-huh.
you are worthy
Yep.
of people pouring into you, of taking the time to
Mhm.
grow,
Yeah.
learn something,
You don't
be
always
invested.
just have to serve.
Yeah.
You're also worth being served
Yes.
and being poured into.
Yeah.
And I think we need to be okay with that and be
Mhm.
humble enough. I think
And
sometimes
really,
it's a pride
because
issue.
that, like, being poured into and filled up is what allows us to serve effectively
Uh-huh.
without just driving ourselves into the ground
Yeah.
by, like, out of some sort of workspace.
Yeah.
I have to
Yeah, I mean,
be here and give.
I was thinking of right, Psalms 23. He anoints my head with oil, my cup overflows.
Yeah.
That the part of the anointing that Jesus gives us, that idea of his presence flowing,
Mhm.
we want to serve out of overflow,
Yeah.
right? The overflow of his presence, of his
Right.
love, and not, give when we're empty,
Right.
or feel like we have to, but
Yeah.
it's okay to be poured into. So
Mhm.
we have a lot of phenomenal people. First off, like I
Right.
was saying, we have a lot of amazing leaders, who are here. And so in the last year, we saw young adults ministry get started, which was
Yeah.
something that the leadership team's been praying into for a few
Mhm.
years now, that we
Yeah.
wanted to see this. And Lord, who are you going to bring? Please
Mhm.
bring someone. And so we have
Mhm.
4 phenomenal people, a single guy, a single gal, and a married couple who are in their 30s. Is he in
Yeah.
his 30s?
Yeah, they're all in
They're
their
all
30s
30s?
now. Uh-huh.
Yeah, okay, 30s to almost early 40s
Mhm.
who are leading it for those 18 to 30-year-olds, which is awesome. We have some phenomenal life groups that have sprung up, right? We have a group that is an integrity group that's really
Yeah.
focused around purity and
Mhm.
walking in with guys, a couple Bible studies and home groups that are happening within
Yeah.
that area. Seasoned Saints started, which is for the 55 plus community of people who are under the belief that just because they're getting close to the season of retirement or in it, you
Mhm.
don't retire from the kingdom of God.
Yeah.
And so even though you're transitioning, how do you transition well and still allow
Mhm.
the Lord to use you in that season
Yeah.
of transition?
Yeah.
It's not a group about, how do they say it? It's not a group about just hiding in the building or just doing a Bible
Mhm.
study. They want to do that,
Yeah.
but they also want to go out and bless people and love
Right.
on people.
And it's not just a social club either.
It's not
Like,
just a
I
social
love
club.
that. They're like,
Yeah.
we want to keep, like, I think about iron sharpening iron and still, being invested.
Yeah. We have our men's and our women's ministry as well, who
Mhm.
do stuff on a monthly basis, who do at least some form of a gathering of getting together.
Mhm.
We have the other stuff that we've always had. We have nursery, we have kids,
Yeah.
right? We have youth, we have these things for other parts of it. We do Wednesday night classes at least a couple
Those
times.
are a great resource for, like,
Great.
learning something from a different angle
Yeah.
or picking up a specific topic
And they're
or
6
study.
weeks, 5 to 6
5.
weeks.
Mhm. Yeah.
And so we do them twice a year,
Right.
right? And so it's not something that's a crazy commitment, as
Mhm.
in I have to give up all of my time and my energy.
Yeah.
It's
Versus like our 9-month
school.
life school
Yeah.
program, which is fantastic
Yes.
and a lot.
Yes, and it's
Yeah.
9 months,
Right.
and
9
you're
months
doing
of
it every
Tuesdays.
Tuesday
Yeah.
night, and so it's
Yeah.
like 30-something weeks or whatever
Yeah.
it is, and so Wednesday night classes are just a great,
Mhm.
a little more
Yeah. I love that
chill,
option.
and then we have tons of other groups. We have wonderful prophetic
Mhm.
company that meets together that has
Yes.
coaches and coachees, and they meet monthly, not
Mhm.
only as an overall group, but also in their small groups to pour into
Yeah.
each other, to encourage each other,
Mhm.
right? We have different prayer groups that meet on a consistent basis. I mean, there are so many places for you to not only partner with people,
Yeah.
but
To
also
serve.
be,
Places to serve.
serve and
And-
be poured into.
Yeah. I was thinking about even just for some, I think we have people in our body that are new. They're not new to the body. They're new to the Lord. They're new to their walk with Christ.
Yeah.
And so we have like a Fresh Start discipleship
Yes.
program that one of our pastors leads. And it's just about those kinds of things. Like, just the ways that we can learn and grow together.
And then also, I think I do want to say too, the amount of our sending of encouraging people to go has also increased in this last season, even with things on pause as far as our building has gone. So, I mean, a few years ago, we had no church-sponsored missions trips.
Yeah.
And this year, I think we'll have at least 3, maybe 4. And the first one, our Gleanings trip, is already, I think, maxed out on how many people can go. So there's at least 15 people who've signed up to go, which is incredible, which is awesome. Like, there are people going, right, to go serve and love on a group of people. Like, that is so encouraging. It's so awesome. We have someone else who's going to Asia for something very soon.
Yeah.
Someone else, I think, who's going to this place in Africa here very soon. I mean, like, people are already going, already doing
Yeah.
the things, right? That
And those are just the church sponsored things.
Yeah.
Like when we look at the giving record of the last year,
yeah,
the places where we've invested either locally or in people going on other trips that are not necessarily church sponsored,
yeah,
the investment there has increased
it's
exponentially
increased. Yeah,
in the last 3 years.
a lot. And even our outreach pastor has started more consistent things. So not only is our food bank and our clothing bank doing phenomenal with Bob, where there's just, 70-something families were served. I don't know about this last week, but the week before, I think he said 74 families came through or something
Amazing.
like that, right? And
Yeah.
people were just blessed. They were served. And then at the same time, our outreach pastor is leading things to Teen Challenge, right? The
Yeah.
local recovery group and doing services there, to McLaren, to the prison,
Right.
right? So we're at this point where there's a lot of amazing stuff happening,
Mm-hmm.
right?
And we talk about small beginning. Like I think for a lot of people, the increased local outreach might feel like a small beginning,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe it is. And we're doing it in so many places. I think to your point, like it is an increase in how we're sending, how we're moving in that calling to be a sending center, even if it's like we're sending people across town.
And calling people to go. Because I think,
Yeah.
once again, very few of us are called to jump on a plane and uproot our entire lives to go to the mission field.
Right.
We love missions.
Yes, we do.
Love it. And we support, 10 wonderful missionaries in different spots in different places around the world. And we love missions. I think everyone should go at some time in their life.
Yeah.
I think that's an important thing. I think, it's good for you to get out of the bubble that you live in and go and serve somewhere that's not comfortable.
Yeah.
Right? I think that's an important thing in doing that. But at the same time, most of us are called to the city that we are in.
Right.
And so even doing more of the local outreaches that we are doing in the city and in the region is such a good thing, because we want people to be trained up and to understand, how do you minister in a way that's not weird? How do you go to somewhere and just love on people? We've also now started taking the third Sunday of every month at Capitol Manor.
Yes.
And which is a local retirement home, right? And we're leading just a small service there for a small group of their people who want it, getting to do some ministry time with the students and everyone, and getting just to pray for them. And it's a great way just to practically love and serve the community and get people out in a way that gets them to do the things we're teaching them, in a practical sense. Because you can be great at equipping people, but if they don't have opportunity, right, to actually use what you've equipped them with, I would venture to say, then what's the point of the equipping that you're doing, right? Like there has to be some level of ownership and walking it out, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's also where we're going as part of being a sending church, isn't just talking about, hey, we want to send people. It's what opportunities are we providing to help you be sent in practical ways in our local community?
Yeah. So we're covering the entire spectrum from where can you be equipped, trained up, poured into, and also where can you be plugged in, sent out, stretched.
All the stuff.
Yeah. And in ways that I appreciate as a staff member, that we've been it's been scalable. We didn't
We've tried.
burn ourselves out.
Yeah.
It was intense for a little bit.
I don't feel like I've burned out, but we're
working on it.
We run fast sometimes, and so I think there's always the point of vision too, which I said this on Sunday. I just want to say it one more time for those listening, because I know we're probably needing to wrap up here, but the point of vision, once again, right, is that what it tells us, right? It's without a vision, the people throw off restraint, or the people perish, as King James says.
Yeah.
You can perish in the sense that if you throw off restraint, then it can lead you somewhere where maybe there is death, right? But the more accurate translation is the throw off restraint, which is to lead to the idea, right, that all of a sudden your inhibitions are gone. You're no longer having anything that's keeping you focused.
This is not breaking the chains of bondage, restraint. This is like abandoning discipline and wisdom, throwing off restraint.
Yeah, and going towards other things that you should not be going towards, right? And so I think the whole idea for us, even as a church, about having vision is restraint allows you to say no what you need to say no to, and yes to what you need to say yes to, right? Yeah. We have a lot of people who want to do things in our body, which is awesome, right? And sometimes people come and go, why don't you do whatever ministry they are passionate about? Yeah, I have a great idea. Yeah. And oftentimes there's one of two things. It's either, if you feel like the Lord is leading you to do that, let's have a conversation about what it looks like for you to start that, right? Which often lets you know how serious someone is anyways about it. But also now we're in the place where we have to be able to say, that is such a cool idea if you want to do that on your own. And we don't mind even telling people about it, but that's not something the Lord is asking us to do in this season. We have to be able to have the restraint sometimes to say no to something so that we can see fulfilled what God has called us to do. I was I don't know who I was talking with. I'm trying to remember. I was talking with someone, and they were talking about how when you're carrying, like they're a backpacker
Mm-hmm.
or a hiker, right?
Yeah.
And they said having restraint for them means packing what they need to get to the end of the trail,
Mm-hmm.
and not packing so much that they weigh themselves down
Mm-hmm.
and have it be so they can't actually finish
Right.
well or finish at all.
Yeah.
And so they said, as a backpacker, the first time they ever went on a hike, they
Yeah.
overpacked. They took too
Totally.
much stuff with them.
Yeah.
They didn't have restraint in
Right.
what to bring and not to bring.
And some of that is out of like fear or like
yeah.
wanting to be
I
prepared.
might maybe need, or, you know,
Not that I'm
what
a backpacker,
happens if,
but,
no, it's okay. Me, I'm not even close to it. But God bless all those wonderful people in our body who are.
Right.
We admire you.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they were saying that they were unsuccessful in their first hike because they were unrestrained and brought too much.
Yeah.
And so they had to tap out early, you know, one of the stops along the way.
Yeah.
And so one of the things they said they've learned over the years that they've been backpacking is the ability to have restraint and only take what they need in order to finish well, right, on the trip,
Right.
but also to get to the end of the end of the trail.
Complete the vision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think
Yeah.
too, that's always very important. You know,
Yeah.
there's always more that you can do.
Mm-hmm.
Is it something you should do?
Right. I love that. In our last few minutes, I want to just sort of make some space. You shared in your message, and people can go find the YouTube recording or or we'll have a podcast episode that is just the sermon also. But you shared some of our current status with the city, some of our to-do list, some of our anticipated associated costs. And so just love for you to take some time to reiterate or expand on anything from that you want to share here.
Yeah. So where we're at still with the city of Salem is that we're still in the permit process. We need a bunch of different things to fall into place. We are going to hit a point where we have a timeline with the city of Salem to get everything complete in order to make sure we can stay on this property in the legal sense. We have some things in place if we need to seek legal counsel and legal help. But the end of the day, there are things we are responsible to fix on our property to exist here. And so we have raised about $500,000. We're going to need roughly,
which is incredible.
We've
raised $500,000 in 2 years, which is remarkable.
Not even in 2 years.
Not even. Yeah, that's true.
In like, it's technically was the last Vision Sunday when we started this whole conversation. So it's barely been a year. Yeah.
I didn't mean to derail you, but
no,
that.
it's just the Lord is so good.
Yeah. So
for
we've raised
that.
$500,000.
So we've raised about $500,000. We need roughly about another $500,000 more, and give or take,
right?
Give or take 100 to a couple $100,000, dollars until we're in the process of it. And so we were looking at a minimum of $750,000 for everything that needs to be done. It's probably going to be closer to $1 million. We are doing most of it ourselves, in the sense of we have an engineer who is helping us on staff for it, but we're not hiring most of it out, which is why we're able to keep the cost down to only $1 million instead of $2.2 million.
Yeah.
And so we are trying to do everything we can for that. And so we're still raising money. And so we're no longer talking just about the Life Training Center, which is where the Wholeness Wing is, the Wholeness Center and all that, and all this remodeling we've been doing. We're just now talking about the fact that our campus, we have a campus initiative. It's everything we're trying to do for the property.
Yeah.
It's our buildings. It's the stuff we have to legally do with the city. And so our goal, or our vision here in the next 3 to 4 years, is once we get our permits, we'll have 3 to 4 years to finish everything we need to do to land it within the timeline that we've been given. And so we need to raise the other $500,000 in the next, earlier technically than 4 years, because we're supposed to be done by then. So things have to be paid for. But in the next few years, we need to raise the other $500,000 so that we can finish everything we have to finish on our property. So if you are part of our church, if you are listening, if this is your family, then we do ask that you just pray and you consider. If you've never given to the Campus Initiative, pray and consider what you can do, what that can look like, because every bit helps. Even like we said, the smallest trickle can turn into a stream, and God does a lot with, even when we have very little to give, he honors that. And so I think I just ask that people just pray. So asking for money is one of my least favorite things in the world.
Totally.
I despise
100%.
it. But when God gives you the vision, I think a part of us having restraint in this season is understanding that you have not because you ask not quite often, and we need to be able to communicate what the need is in order to help people run where we're going. And part of that is raising the funds in this season.
And truthfully, it's an invitation.
It is.
It's an invitation into investing, whether you're part of this community or you care about us.
Yeah.
Because we do have some just friends of the body
that have
been part of this. And
Yeah, and if you just want to give because you're a friend and you're like, the Lord's leading me to
like,
bless these
Friends of
people,
Life Church.
we aren't saying no to that.
No, no,
So,
but it's an invitation that allows people, if they don't know what
Yeah.
the need is, if they don't know that it exists or how much, that can be a barrier to
Yeah.
people accepting the invitation.
Yeah.
So that's what we're offering.
and
is
we
an
want to be good
invitation.
stewards of this land and this place.
Yes.
We want to be good stewards of what God has given us.
Mhm.
And so everything that we're doing right now is to make sure we are aligned with the stewardship that God is asking us to live in. So it's
Yeah.
going to be good. It's
Yeah.
going to be challenging, but it will be good. And I'm
Mhm.
excited to see
Yeah.
what happens with it.
I love how in your message you talked about how you spent the first sort of couple years of your lead pastorate or
Mhm.
pastorship looking at the foundations and the
Mhm.
importance of foundations, and how a lot of what has unfolded in the last year and a half is sort of uncovering places where there might have been a
Mhm.
crack in the
Yeah.
foundation. We weren't quite there.
Yeah.
And what we have now is this opportunity to shore things up, to and then to move from that like fully restored, fully aligned place,
Yeah.
a centered place of
Yeah.
them being
To be able to actually build, once again, getting back to that
Yeah.
skillful,
Mhm.
right, purposeful
Purposeful.
building with wisdom,
Yeah,
right? We can't just slap things on in
Mhm.
random, right? So
right.
part of us finishing this whole campus initiative thing
Mhm.
means that by then we have the foundation done to really
Yeah.
start building what we need to build, to make sure that we have the vehicle
Mhm.
ready to carry us where God wants us to
Yeah.
go, right, for it. And so
Totally.
it will be good and
Mhm.
it will be great.
Yes.
And as we keep saying, we don't look at just the season that we're in. We're looking
Mhm.
at it for a season for those coming,
Right.
that 30 years from now,
Mhm.
because of what we're doing, those the Lord brings to lead this church and community after us
Yeah.
will have a great foundation in place for them to
Right.
continue building and go further than we've gone.
Yeah.
So I always try to just remind myself too that even if I don't get to see the fulfillment of what it means for us to be a sending center on the
Mhm.
level that I've had dreams about
Yeah.
or had words about,
Mhm.
it's not about me getting to see the fulfillment.
Mhm.
I'm going to say this. When it comes to church, I don't think it's about me getting to see the fulfillment. I feel like that is a selfish idea if I put a requirement upon the Lord
Mm.
that for this to come to pass, I have to be the one to see it.
Mhm.
I think that would be amazing. I don't think it's something I get to require of
It's
God.
not a demand you get to make.
It's not a demand I get to make because as a church, this church belongs to the Lord. It does not
Yes.
belong to me.
Mhm.
Since I am stewarding what the Master has given me,
Mhm.
I do the best I can to steward it in the season that I am allowed to have it.
Mhm.
And then when the Lord passes it on to the next person, they might get to see a greater fulfillment than I did. And that is nothing wrong with that. It's
Mhm.
actually the beautiful thing of what it means to be part of a family, that you're not building for
Mhm.
yourself, you're building for your kids.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
even if we do not get to see the fulfillment on the level that I would love to see, I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting to see it,
Sure.
right? But I am okay with laying down the best foundation we can, building, putting the best studs in place that we can,
Mhm.
making sure that everything we do and leave allows
Mhm.
those who come next to run even further and
Yeah.
bring more influence and change into the world, and not have to worry about some of the things we have to worry about.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah. I think that's good. I was gonna end with I think ultimately everything that happens is the Lord's.
Yep.
Like what comes next, any steps that we take, or ultimate like Life Church is the Lord's, the way
Mhm.
that you were saying.
Yep.
That, there's not just we're gonna do everything we can
Yep.
to steward and prepare and
yeah, be obedient,
faithful.
be faithful.
Yeah. And ultimately it is in God's hands
Yep.
to be the defender, the protector,
Mhm.
the provider. Which is great. So all right. Well, thank you so much, Andrew.
Thank you, Lisa.
For those of you listening, you can find more Life Church content on YouTube, podcasts, Amazon, wherever you find your podcast sources. And we will see you next time.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to share this. Let people
Send
see
it
it.
to your friends.
We're not shy. So.